You've probably seen this number, $43 million. Supposedly, that's Bittensor's AI revenue for 3 months. And here's the problem. I went looking for the receipts. I can't find them. No network-wide ledger, nothing that verifies it. One independent analyst counted every dollar they could actually trace. Their total, $3 to $15 million for the whole year. Today, we find out which number to trust. Welcome back to Deciphering Crypto. I'm Shay, and I explain these crypto projects objectively and simplified for everyone. This video is for anyone who has heard Bittensor called the Decentralized OpenAI and wondered if that's real. No coding needed, no prior crypto knowledge needed. By the end, you'll be able to check this number yourself in about 2 minutes and have a much broader understanding of the project and what numbers are hype and which aren't. And I'll show you the one metric that tells you more than any price chart. Okay. Picture a giant food court. The building is Bittensor. Each individual restaurant is called a subnet. A subnet is just a small independent business inside the network. Each one does a different AI job. One rents out graphics cards, one answers AI questions, one stores data, one predicts prices. They don't compete with each other, they compete inside themselves. Inside every subnet, workers called miners do the actual AI work. Other participants called validators score that work and rank it. Do good work, earn more. Do lazy work, earn less. That's the whole design. So where does $43 million come from? Mostly from a handful of the busiest restaurants in the food court. Chutes, Subnet 64, sells cheap AI answers. Over 400,000 users have used it. Targon, Subnet 4, rents out serious computer power to businesses. Targon's biggest customer is an app called Dippy with millions of users. They move their entire back end onto decentralized infrastructure. That's a serious vote of confidence. But now, look at the other end of the food court. Most of the other restaurants aren't Targon. Dozens carry real token valuations with barely any paying customers behind them. Same network, same rules, completely different businesses. That gap is the entire story of Bittensor right now. You might be wondering, do the customers know they're using crypto? Mostly, no, and honestly, that's the point. And actually, tracking all of these subnets is exactly why today's video is also supported by Prime Radiant. Prime Radiant brings Bittensor subnet data, portfolio tracking, and research tools together in one place so you don't have to chase information across a dozen different sites. You can connect a view-only wallet, track your positions, and dig deeper into individual subnets. I'll put the link in the description if you want to check it out. Now, back to the food court. They just see a faster, cheaper button in an app they already use. And that's what real adoption looks like. Quiet. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Bittensor prints new tokens every single day and pays them out to people doing the work. These new tokens are called emissions. Think of them like a grand opening subsidy. The mall owner pays every restaurant to stay open whether customers show up or not. In that same quarter, Bittensor paid out roughly $82 million in fresh tokens. So the network spent $82 million to earn $43 million. And remember, that 43 is the generous estimate. Take the biggest subnet, Chutes, received around $52 million a year in emissions. Its verified outside revenue somewhere between 1 and 2.4 million. That's $22 to $40 of subsidy for every $1 the customer pays. So is somebody lying? Almost certainly not. And this part is genuinely important. The AI work happens off the blockchain on private servers over normal internet. The blockchain only records tokens moving. It never sees the actual customer order. So there is no automatic receipt. Teams report their own numbers, analysts estimate the rest. That's not fraud, that's a measurement gap. But here's how you work around it. You find a witness. Chutes sells a lot of its capacity through a middleman called OpenRouter. OpenRouter publishes its own traffic numbers publicly, and it has no reason to flatter anyone. Earlier this year, one report claimed 160 billion units of work per day. OpenRouter's public data showed roughly 8 to 12 billion. That's not a rounding error, that's an order of magnitude. Now, OpenRouter only sees part of the traffic, so it's not the whole picture. But that's exactly the skill I want you to walk away with. When a number can't be verified directly, go find someone with no reason to lie. Okay, quick 30 seconds. Today's video is supported by Swap.io, and it ties into our topic. This whole video is about verification. Swap.io is a simple way to move between tokens without the usual friction. You pick your pair, you see the rate up front. Before Before you commit, then you swap. No actual maze, no guessing what you'll receive. Links in the description, and nothing here is financial advice. All right, back to the number. Okay, so there is a plot twist, and Bittensor read the same criticism you just heard, and 11 days ago, they changed the rules. On the 28th of July, the network shipped an upgrade called the Emission Gate. Here's what it does in plain English. Before, every restaurant got a slice of the daily subsidy, even empty ones. Now, there's a bar, a minimum level of market demand for the subnet you have to clear. Sit above the bar, and you keep everything. Actually, you get more. Sit below it, and your subsidy shrinks towards almost nothing. The official numbers are dramatic. 94 subnets sat below that bar. Their share of rewards dropped from 38% to 12%. The top 8 subnets go from 33% to 53%. And here's the part I find clever. Nobody gets cut to zero. It's a slope, not a cliff edge. A struggling subnet still earns a trickle, enough to signal that the hill climb is possible. And near the bar, the reward for improving is enormous. A mid-rank subnet that grows demand 10% earns roughly 26% more. Growing right at that line is now the best paid move on the entire network. And there's one more detail that I think is the smartest part. The bar isn't a fixed number, it moves. If the weaker subnets attract more demand, the bar rises, and the standard gets harder for everybody. So you can't win by simply registering more subnets. That doesn't move the line at all. And it's recalculated slowly on purpose so nobody can fake demand for a few minutes and jump the queue. All right, you're already getting it. This is the network deliberately starving its own dead weight. One more number to hold on to. Before this change, rewards were meaningfully spread across about 50 subnets. After it, closer to 22. So, is anything real being built? July was the strongest month I've tracked. Chutes trained a 20 billion parameter AI model for under $10 an hour. No data center, no dedicated cluster, just rented graphics cards coordinated across the world. That's the kind of number you can put into any cloud provider's price page. Targon launched TargonOS. You can now rent a full machine with complete control and H200, one of the most powerful AI chips available, for $3.29 an hour. That price makes the conversation with a big cloud provider very short. Kraken started listing Bittensor subnet tokens in July. 6 are already trading: Chutes, Liam, Hippias, Vanta, Ridges AI, and Score, with Targon still on Kraken's roadmap. And Synth, subnet 50, did something almost nobody in crypto does. It reported a profitable quarter and spent $100,000 of that revenue buying back its own token. Real revenue converted into real value for holders. That's a template. Now, 2 things the internet got wrong, and you should know both. You'll read everywhere that Bittensor doubled to 256 subnets in May. It didn't. The official upgrade page says the slot increase is deferred to a later release. The live network snapshot in July counted 126. And the 43 million gets credited to Chutes alone in some newsletters. It was never one subnet, it was the whole network. Numbers get sloppier the further they travel. Always walk them back to the source. So, what happens over the next year? Here's my honest read. 3 paths. Path 1, the Emission Gate does its job. Rewards concentrate on the 20 or so subnets with genuine customers. The subsidy ratio falls, real revenue grows into the gap, and the network gets boring and useful. Path 2, concentration goes too far. Rewards pile into a much smaller group of subnets. Under Bittensor's own modeling, the top 8 go from roughly a half to 60 or 70%. And that's fewer experiments, fewer new ideas, a network that looks decentralized but behaves centralized. Path 3, and this is the real risk, Bittensor's cheap prices are funded by printed tokens, not by efficiency. Many of these inference providers serve open weight models that customers can get elsewhere. And because they often use standard OpenAI compatible APIs, switching providers can be relatively easy. That means the moat isn't necessarily the model itself, it's the price, speed, reliability, and the quality of the service around it. Think about what that means. Uber and Amazon also subsidized early customers, but they built something you couldn't easily walk away from. So if subsidies shrink faster than real demand grows, prices could rise and customers may have plenty of alternatives. That's the argument I find hardest to dismiss, and nobody has fully answered it yet. My view, path 1 is genuinely in play now, and it wasn't 6 months ago. The builders shipped, the protocols fixed the incentive it was criticized for, but the price hasn't followed, and I think that's fair. Proof takes quarters, not weeks. One near-term wild card, a spot Bittensor fund decision is expected soon. One catch worth knowing, that fund is barred from staking its tokens. So it would hold Bittensor while sitting outside of the reward system entirely. Now, the honest risk list. I'd be doing you a disservice without it. In July, 2 subnet teams had wallets drained, not by a clever code, by a fake meeting link. One team clicked, the attacker walked out with the funds. The protection tools had shipped 3 days earlier, they just hadn't switched them on yet. Credit where it's due, both teams published what happens quickly and in full. That's the culture you want when something breaks. Second risk, until revenue is verifiable on chain, you're trusting people's own reporting. Third, concentration. The new rules deliberately concentrate rewards. Bittensor own models puts more than half of all emissions into just the top 8 subnets. And fourth, a slow one. Bittensor halves its token printing over time like Bitcoin. Last December it dropped from 7,200 a day to 3,600. That's the subsidy shrinking on a fixed schedule, whether demand is ready or not. None of these are fatal, all of them are real. Okay, I promised you the one metric and here it is. Not price, it's not market cap, it's the subsidy ratio. How many dollars of printed tokens does it take to produce $1 of customer revenue? In Pine Analytics' March snapshot, Chutes was estimated at somewhere between 22 and 40 to 1. If that number falls over the next year, the thesis is working. If it holds or climbs, the 43 million was a headline, not a business. Everything else, the price, the fund, the announcements, is noise all around that one ratio. Links to every source are in the description, including the official upgrade page. Check my work. If this made a complicated number feel simple, a like genuinely helps the channel. None of this has been financial advice. Always do your own research. You can do it. You're smarter than you think, and I'll see you next week.